Hi, welcome to today's lesson. What we're going to be looking at today is lines and angles. So we're looking at the rules that are involved with lines and angles. Now there's a couple of things that you would have learned from junior school that you should still remember, okay? Angles on a straight line add up to 180, angles around a point add up to 360, and vertically opposite angles, which I'm actually going to quickly remind you of, are equal. Now the two main ones, well, let's first quickly do vertically opposite angles are equal, just because it's quite an important one, and people forget about it. Alright, so if I've got two lines that are crossing like this, okay, the angles that are vertically opposite each other, well, directly opposite, will be equal. So that angle, let's call that A, will be equal to that angle, B. So those are two are vertically opposite. Conversely, and this is what people forget, they always seem to see the acute angle as being equal, so that those two are equal, but then they forget that actually, hang on a second, that obtuse angle is equal to that obtuse angle there. Okay, so don't forget those two big ones as well. Alright, so that's vertically opposite angles are equal. I abbreviate this as vert op angles equal. Okay, now you got to check with your teacher how they want you to abbreviate it. I've seen certain teachers ask them to write it out in full sentences where they're giving the reason. Other teachers don't mind short words, abbreviated words like that. Some teachers even ask them just to draw a picture to represent vertically opposite angles. Okay, it's up to your teacher. You've got to check how they want you to set it up. Okay, but today we're going to be looking at the three main ones, the three important ones that you have to remember. Okay, the first one is corresponding angles are equal. Okay, the full wording there is in the notes. Okay, so you can go and read it out, how to spell it. Corresponding angles are equal. This is the abbreviation that I would use. Angles are equal. Right, now corresponding angles is when I have a parallel line, set of parallel lines, okay? So I'm just cheating this parallel line. Right, that looks about parallel. And I have a transverse that's going across it, okay? So some kind of transverse, anything that cuts across it, okay? So there's a nice transverse. Now, what corresponding angles are, is corresponding angles mean they correspond in their position with relation to the parallel and the transverse. Okay? So that means, if I'm talking about this angle here, now this is what I'm looking at, this little green dot angle. I want to say, what's the corresponding angle to that? Now, corresponding means same position. So, well, this guy, well, he's to the right of the transverse and he's below the one parallel. So he's right to the transverse, below the parallel. So where is another position that's right to the transverse and below the parallel? Right to the transverse, below the parallel. Here, this one. That's the corresponding position. So those two guys are equal. Okay. Now, I'm not going to draw the others in, but I'm quickly going to talk about them. If I talk about this one, well, what's his position? Left of the transverse, below the parallel, or which is the same position as that? There. Left of the transverse, below the parallel. Or above the parallel, left of the transverse, above the parallel, left of the transverse. Above the parallel, right of the transverse, above the parallel, right of the transverse. Yeah. So it's a corresponding position. So identify their positions, and then you can see them. I'm going to show you another way to remember it in a second. But let's just finish the rest of these. Okay, the next one is co-interior. Co-interior angles are supplementary. Add to 180. Supplementary. Add to 180. Okay? So if I'm looking again, let's take two other parallel lines. Let's take two parallel lines. Let's put the parallel lines facing down. It doesn't really matter which way your parallel lines face, okay? They have to be parallel. This only works for parallel lines. Okay, so there's two parallel lines, and let's draw some kind of transverse going across it. Okay, like that. Okay. So they say co-interior angles. Whoopsie. Drop the ruler. Co-interior angles add up to 180. So that means, now, if you think about it, if I say interior decorating, what does that mean? That means decorating inside. Okay. If I say the interior of the house, it means the inside of the house. So if I say the interior of this, well, I hope you'd all agree with me that this part would be the outside of between the parallel lines, and this part would be the outside. The interior would be these two. Alright. Now I'm not going to use the same symbol because they're not equal to each other, but they do add up to 180. So I've used a dot and a cross. Okay. So co-interior angles add up to 180. Now listen to the word. If I co-produce a movie, right, that means I produce with someone else. If I cohabitate with someone, that means I live with someone else, okay? So co means I'm doing something with something else. So this here, co-interior, means they're sharing an interior, okay? So these two are sharing an interior, and what happens? They add up to 180. Another way to think of it, if I was a little ant and I was walking in there and I turned around and I turned around and I'd walk back out, how far have I turned? Well, I've walked in, I've turned around, how far have I turned? I've done 180. Okay, another way of thinking about it. Alrighty, and then the last one of these three is alternate. Alternate angles are equal. Okay, alternate angles are equal. And what we're going to be doing with this, let's just draw two parallel lines. Now let's just go horizontal. Alright? So alternate angles, there's two parallel lines. Let's give it some kind of transverse. Alright? I'm going to give the transverse there. Alternate angles mean they alternate sides. It's exactly what it is. So they alternate sides. Now they're equal, so I can use something that makes them equal. So that one there, that dot, is equal to that dot. It alternates sides of the transverse. Okay, so here it's left of the transverse, and then here it's right of the transverse. Okay, right of the transverse, left of the transverse. Alright, so those are alternate sides. You can also get alternate exterior angles, that one and that one, alright? But I don't like to jump across between them. I like to stick either between them and then use corresponding or vertically opposite to get outside of the lines. Okay, it's just my personal preference. Now, very, very quickly, a way to remember them is corresponding angles, alright? Corresponding angles make an F shape. So corresponding angles make an F shape. I've seen actually some teachers allow you to refer to it as F angles. I don't agree with that, but you got to check, okay? I think you should use the right name. Corresponding angles make an F shape. Co-interior angles, alright, make a U shape. Right, I'm twisting it around so it looks. Can you see where I'm going with this? And alternate angles make a Z shape. But fuzz doesn't work with my joke. So alternate angles makes an N shape. That's not my thing, but I've stolen it from someone, I can't remember who. Geometry is fun. Okay. That's silly, but hey, if it helps you remember it, all the better. Right, so let's use one of these guys. Let's use them and see how we work with this. Okay, so very quickly now, we're going to look at the first example. So we've got some kind of line there, okay? We've got another parallel line here. We've got a transverse doing this, okay? Let's just actually draw that transverse in. And they say that this is 120 degrees. They say find the size of angle E, alright? With a reason. Now if I was writing this into a test, a year 7 or year 8 test, I'd say 1 mark for the size of the angle, 1 mark for the reason, okay? Alright, so 120 E, so I'd say here, E equals 120 degrees. Why does it equal 120 degrees? Okay, this is below and right of the transverse, this is below and right. So it's corresponding in this position. Corres angles equal. Okay, straightforward. It's just writing it down, just identifying which one you're using and writing it down. Okay, so E equals 120, corresponding angles equal. Okay, the same one for the next one. All right. If you look down at the notes below, it says E equals. They've got E between the two things. Now let me draw that underneath here. I'm going to squash this up because I want them all to fit. Okay. If you want it to look nice, take a look at the notes underneath. So they've got this, right, and they've got there that this is 50, and this is, I've called it E again. And they say, how much is E? Well, in this one, angle E, sorry, why am I doing that? That's angle E equals 50 degrees, and with this, it's alternate angles are equal. All right, alt angles equal. Okay, and then the last one here. Right, so this last one here, we've got a transverse going across, and I've got E and 140. So this is 140 on that side, and here I've got E. And they say, how much is E? E equals 180 minus 140, all right, to show my working, okay? And the reason why I can do this, now let's look at how I'm structuring. The reason why I can do this is because co-interior angles are supplementary, okay, or equal 180. Not a problem how you write it, okay? Check with your teacher. So E equals 180 minus 140, E equals 40 degrees. Done. Okay, piece of cake, huh? Alrighty. Now, one last one that I want to quickly do with 2 steps. So I'm going to flip back to this board, and I'm going to try and work some things out. And right over here. That should be enough space. Right. So the last one I quickly want to look at is another pair of parallels. Okay, there's one, there's another, and then a transverse going across like this. Okay, and they give me in here that this is 68, this is y, and this is x. Okay, and they say find x. All right. Now, here's a hint. If they give you 2 letters, okay, go via the letters that they give you. You can go 68 to there, angles on a straight line, all right, and then corresponding to there, all right. You can go 68 to 68, co-interior, right. Sorry, vertically opposite, and then that with that co-interior. But because they've given me y, I'm going to go 68 to y, y to x. Okay, so let's quickly do that. Firstly, y equals 68 degrees. Why does it equal 68 degrees? Because it's corresponding. Cores angles equal. Okay, so y equals 68 degrees. Now another, excuse me, another tip that I suggest is that when you're working in a test, you've got a picture there. Write in the amount that you figured it out as you're going, because that usually helps to fill in the spaces. Okay, and now we can do x equals 180 minus 68 degrees, and the reason for that is angles on a straight line. Okay, angles on a straight line equal 180 degrees. Okay, angles on a straight line equal 180 degrees. So x equals 180 minus 68 is 112 degrees. Okay, all right. Now, you could have gone a lot of different ways. Usually with parallel lines, there's a number of ways to actually get to the answer, okay? Someone sitting next to you might have got there a different way. That's okay. But as long as your structure is correct, as long as you're sure of your reasoning. Now, when I say structure is correct, if you write something down in geometry, get into the habit of putting a reason down, okay? Don't only do it when they ask for it in an exam. Don't only do it, get into the habit now. Okay, don't wait for an exam, that's what I meant to say, okay? So when you write something down, write the reason. Why can I say that that's 68? Because corresponding angles are equal. Okay, all right, you need to go practice this. People struggle with geometry. Some people find it easy. Quite a few kids that I've taught have struggled with geometry more than anything else, okay? But remember, you can come back and watch this again, and I'm here for you.